Um, there it is.
Here we go.
All right. Everybody, I see some familiar faces out there. Thank you so much for joining us for our open source exchange. We hope that this will be one of four open source exchange meetings where we sort of delve into the specifics of two of our open source games. And we have 20 open source games. Some of them are more shareable than others, but all of them are fun to explore. So we hope you'll join us again and ask us any questions you have about these. My name is Kellyanne, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, which means I speak English like a machine gun. I speak very quickly. So if you need me to slow down or clarify anything, please let me know, and I'm happy to go back to things. So I'm going to take a minute to talk a little bit about why I'm here and why we decided to do Project On Me in the first place. And I thought that this was a really wonderful way to express it from Fatia Berkner, who is with us as well. And Fatia and Michaela and I work on all of these exciting projects, and we've been at this since I believe 2021, 2022 is when we first started thinking about this. And I think the idea is, well, there are a lot of really wonderful game designers in Switzerland and a lot of really wonderful game designers in Europe. And so why have an obnoxious American, right? What's the point? Why bring an American over to work on this stuff? And I think a lot of it has to do with perspective. And I have learned so much about my game design practice and my museum education practice just from hanging out with you guys and from seeing how what we do is different in a lot of ways and similar in a lot of ways. I've made wonderful friends because museum people are wonderful museum people no matter where in the world they are. But definitely there are a lot of cultural differences. And so bringing our American educators and museum professionals together with European museum professionals and educators, I think has been really valuable. And so we're working on perspectives and sort of building this international community, and we're dedicated to these meaningful interactions with art and culture, and also together lowering the barrier to entry for people who might want to engage with museums. And so creating things that are easy for people to engage with, but are also not horribly difficult for us to create. I like to say, low effort, high glory, right? We want to build things that are meaningful for other people, that uses our resources, that we're not making things as difficult as possible for ourselves. So, Project On Me, if you haven't heard before what it is, this is a project that was funded by the Max Kohler Foundation. It was a 3-year project where my studio, Fable Vision Studios, went to work with 8 different museums, 6 in Switzerland and 2 in the United States, to create 30-day prototypes. And the first thing that we did that we found was really different culturally was this phased approach to building programming. Whereas in the United States, we tend to have like just very low funding, really even less now in cultural organizations. That's pretty tight. And so we use a phased approach where you get a grant for a small amount, $1,000, $5,000, and you build something sort of small and broken, right? And you know that it's going to be broken, and you test and you test. And when you find something that works, then you apply for a little bit more and you test. And then when that works, you apply for a little bit more. Of course, this is not always the case. Sometimes you have an exhibition and you have a timeline and you just have to go. But often for education departments, this is what we do. And so in order to escape this sort of perfection trap, and the perfection trap lives everywhere in the museum's world, no matter what country you're from. But the sense that we can't do anything unless it's perfect. And so we tested, well, what happens if we do something in 30 days only? What can we build in 30 days? And we found that we could actually build a lot in 30 days. In fact, we built and tested 20 fully functional prototypes. And we tested these prototypes with visitors, and we tested them with each other too. And they certainly weren't perfect and they certainly weren't finished, but they were functioning. And it was a really good place for us to start. And now here we are in year three, and we're at a stage where we are excited about what we've built. Some of these things are really good. Some of them were very early prototypes. Some of them were very late prototypes and are just about ready to go to market. All you need to do is change some art and change some content, and away we go. And now we're ready to share these with you. And our project has started to shift from this focus on prototyping to this focus on open source and sharing. And what does it mean to do more with less by sharing the resources that we have and building this community? So we have 20 delightful games. If you guys would ever like to take a look at all of them, currently they live at www.projectanu.com. And we're working on the website. We don't feel like it's terribly accessible right now, but it gives you a good idea of what these look like. And here were our wonderful 8 museum partners. And so our 6 Swiss museums did 3 projects each, which was great because, the first project was a little bit of the sort of storming and norming, where people sort of got to know each other and figure out what it is to do something in 30 days. And then the second project, we really sort of hit the ground running and got stronger work. And then by the third project, for each of these museums, our third project was really pretty strong, and things were starting to feel like very very regular, like, yeah, we can build more of these prototypes. And what we're hoping happened is that we created a culture of prototyping and testing and sharing in each of those museums that we worked with. And we also had 2 wonderful museum guest partners from the United States, SF MoMA in San Francisco and the MoMA in New York City. And so both of the education, 2 of the education people from both of those museums came to Switzerland in February, did this wonderful tour where we all talked about the work that we did. But right now, I would like to introduce 2 of our games that I hope maybe you'll be able to use. One of them, I believe, is our easiest to share. One of them, I believe, is currently our hardest to share. So we went with the alpha and the omega for our very first sharing. The first one is called Kunsttyp, or the personality profile. This is a really easy game to build. It's a really easy game to share. And if this is something that you're interested in, you can use it in your galleries tomorrow. It was inspired by magazines, online personality quizzes from the 1990s and the 2000s. What kind of Muppet are you? What kind of Harry Potter character are you? And so we said, okay, what kind of art viewer are you? And we have these different personality profiles that you would answer questions for, and that it would drive you towards a specific personality profile. This is a paper game only. Easy A4 printability, right? So we have a document. You can edit this document. You print it out, away you go. It's good for a 30-minute playthrough. It's good for single visitors, but you can also use it for classrooms. And this is just a general purpose game, very low barrier to entry activity. We created 6 different art type logos: the technical, interpretive, the aesthetic, the critical, and the analytical. And we have these cute little custom images that you can use as stickers. You can use them as cards. We thought it was kind of a fun icebreaker if you're working with maybe kids. This is kind of a nice thing for September. If you have a college town and you know that you're going to have a lot of college students, some sort of orientation at the museum or something like that, and the kids can sort of wear their stickers and be like, oh, I'm an aesthetic, They come up and talk to each other and say, why are you an aesthetic? Tell me more. Yeah, we thought this was just kind of a nice way for people to chat with each other. And most of these games, they have an element that's related to looking at the art and engaging with the art, but also an element that's social, that's about engaging with each other. Because I think when it comes to looking at art and being in a museum, part of it is engaging with the museum, and part of it is engaging with each other, with the art as a topic. Um, Here you see this is an InDesign document. It's so easy to edit. If you don't know how to do InDesign, we can either send it to Photoshop, so you can edit it in Photoshop. You can send us the text. We can edit it for you. Again, this is pretty straightforward. I think the hardest part about this particular challenge is the questions, because you want to ask questions that are not sort of like esoteric or leading questions. And so some of the questions I thought were really fun. For technical, like one of the questions might be like you go up to a piece of art and then you have, um, which of these questions would you ask about this art? So for technical, you might say, are they using plastic in this? What happens when the plastic gets old, right? So like that might be a question that a technical person would ask about a piece of art. Or if you're an aesthetic person, you might say, I like the way that the blue slowly fades into green, right? So, but the question, you might not want to say something like, uh, this reminds me of the 2000 treatise on something, something. You want to use real language that people can really connect to. So the questions, they're fun to build, and you guys know the kinds of questions that your community responds to. This is a really simple fold and play. It goes into like a little 8-pager. You can see it right here. And we've had 3 different museums who have used this, and it's been pretty successful. So it was initially prototyped at the Aargauer Art Museum in Aargau, and then Michaela used it in the Haus Konstruktiv. And over here, you can see some teens that are engaging with it. Teenagers love a good personality profile, so this is a nice way to engage young people. And I believe Leonie also, was it Leonie who used this at Kunsthaus Baseland? Yeah, yeah. So it was also used at Kunsthaus Baseland, and also seemed to do a good job. We said A4 paper, but a couple of both Leonie and I think they did this at Aargauer is they used like big legal paper, so it was just a little bit larger, but both things that can fit into your printer, right in your office. Not a big, not a big heavy lift. If you're more interested in this, make sure you have our email address, which is friends@projectagni.com. We are happy to send you the files. Um, but we also have a couple of small mini grants from the Natural Color Foundation. And so if this is something that you're interested in, but you just don't have the time or the staff, you don't know how to use InDesign, give us a holler, and maybe we can help you out because we would like to work with you. So feel free to reach out. And now I'm going to talk about the entirely different side of the spectrum, which is Grab-it. This has had 3 different names: Grab-it with 2 B's, Grab-it with 1 B, and now the University of Minnesota is playing with it, and they're calling it Go For It. So this is an extremely flexible game. It looks like it has a high barrier to entry technically. If you're someone who has a technical background, it's actually very easy. So somebody like Mike from Rietberg can run this whole thing by himself with his eyes closed. It's not a difficult thing for someone with a technical background. If you have a moderate technical background, Amy from SF MoMA, she was able to run all of the software by herself by just having us tell her how to do it. If you have absolutely zero technical background and this feels like a really high barrier to entry for you, with the University of Minnesota, they were just terrified of doing any sort of programming. And so we just programmed the whole thing in a microcomputer and we're shipping it to them. We're doing the whole thing for them. So there's sort of the low, medium, high. All 3 solutions work. Just depends on what your comfort is with a technical elements. So this was inspired by a popular German TV show, which of course I did not know. So this was from um, Oh my goodness, now I'm absolutely blanking on names, but this is from the education director at Rietberg, who thought of this really
Caroline.
cool.
Caroline.
Caroline, of course, it was Caroline Spiegert. Yes, yes, yes. So she had this really great idea, great educator, great designer, and she was thinking about the TV show that she used to see when she was a kid in German, where children would describe something and grown-ups would have to figure out what the heck they were talking about. And I believe there's an American version of this as well, but that was, in the 70s. It's a much older show, so I wasn't familiar with it. Um, and so what we did was we gave kids, this was at the Rietberg Museum, which is a museum of non-Western art, and we gave kids images of these sort of very traditional paintings from India that they called ragamalas. Um, do they call the paintings ragamalas or do they call paintings ragas? Anyways, they were these really beautiful Indian paintings. And we had, 7-year-olds look at them and try and describe what was happening. And when you would listen to what the 7-year-old was saying, and you had to try and find the image that the 7-year-old was talking about. And the descriptions were wonderful. That the kids were talking about like, well, this looks like a hamburger. Um, and they're trying to describe a chicken. And they said, well, this is an animal that you would use to make chicken nuggets, right? Or like they would just say these really, really wonderful, hilarious things and had sort of these closer looking tricks that only a kid could do. Um, so this is how we used it. So it's a digital physical game. So you've got the screen delivers the content, and then you've got these cards. So that's really the two elements to it, right? Screen up here, cards down below, and then you have these two targets where you pick up a card and you tap it on a target to talk about, what it is, what your guess is. It's really good for rotating exhibits. It's great for family and public spaces. It's also surprisingly durable. This is a game that looks difficult, but it's really low effort, high glory. And it's the type of thing that you can institute and just walk away. And so we've used this with Museum Rietberg, with SF MoMA, and also with the University of Minnesota. The first challenge is you have to decide what's on your screen. And we've had three completely different approaches to this. So Rietberg hired some really delightful child actors that gave us these descriptions, and they had video content that you were matching the cards to. SF MoMA decided that they were going to use still images, and they had the kids draw the pictures. And so there were pictures in the gallery. They had children draw their own versions of the pictures, and the children's pictures were on the screen, the original pictures were on the cards, and players had to match the children's drawings to the original picture that inspired them. And then with the University of Minnesota, they went even simpler, where they just used questions. And so they were like, hey, this is a screen. We're going to use the screen to just ask questions via text. And you can answer it with the picture. Any of them work. You have to decide what you want your answer card content to be. Uh, these pictures here, you see they're just cards, they're like 4 by 4. Um, I, University of Minnesota is doing them larger, about 7 by 7. And looks like what they did for Rietberg, they had the actual pictures of the content, the pictures on the wall, the paintings, and they had, I believe, the original pictures for at the moment as well. But for University of Minnesota, they're using just pictures of answers, and so just photographs of different things. And, I think they're using things like corn and scientists, and you can do whatever you want as a card. It's really very flexible. Um, Again, work with our team. You can do it yourself. We can ship you something, but thanks to SF MoMA and Rietberg, we've been able to develop this sort of setup wizard that will make it really easy for you to put content in. We can walk you through it. Pretty straightforward. You just sort of match these RFID cards to the content that you have. It runs on any Windows computer, and then you just sort of attach a screen to it. Again, low, medium, high. Build it yourself. We can walk you through it. Or we also have some scholarships that we can just kind of send you the completed computer with all of your content in it so that you can set it up. We run this at three museums. The first one, the testing museum, was Museum Rietberg. We just had content that we filmed with our iPhones. We did it in English and German. We sent the kids pictures of the content and asked them to describe it. And it was really easy, right? You film it with your iPhone and just load it right into the system. Not difficult to find content. At SF MoMA, they decided that they wanted to do something that was a little bit more mobile. And so Rietberg did it for an exhibit, and they had their exhibit designers work on it. It looked really gorgeous. It was bulletproof, just beautiful table and really well designed. Whereas SF MoMA decided that they wanted to do something that was really just sort of quick and dirty for their family programs, something they can put up quick, something they can take down quick. And their version was manned. So they were like, okay, we want something that is not necessarily quite as bulletproof, but we have a person with us. And then the third version will be coming this August at the Minnesota State Fair. So same thing as Rietberg, this is going to be, well, actually a little bit more in between because it will have to be bulletproof. Minnesota State Fair have a lot of people there. They're putting together a great big wooden permanent table and it will have vinyls on it. But there will also be people there. So a lot of variations on how you can do this. So again, if you are intrigued, then please email us at friends@projectami.com. You can also reach out to me, Kellyanne at Fablevision, or you can chat with us right now if you think it's something that you'd like to talk about. And I believe that is all we have. So we can stop recording now.